Sean. Mark?
Well, this is a nice feed-in because, you know, water and food and energy, which Kevin will talk about, are just intimately connected, and it's almost impossible to separate them. The trends, though, just to hit some of the trends before we get to the indicators, is that worldwide, the available water per capita has been in decline. And this is in the last decade or so, which actually reversed long-term trends where water per capita was increasing because, you know, people were building dams, capturing it, building water systems. And they were very effective at doing this, tapping into groundwater aquifers. And so lots of the green revolutions around the world, and I just came back from India and was talking to the folks at the Minister of Agriculture there, and they were really talking about how they really grew a lot by increasing the water per capita. But that in the last 20 years, this has dramatically turned around, and they've seen steep drops per capita due to population growth, as well as the fact that most of the surface water and groundwater has been exploited. And particularly with respect to groundwaters, a lot of these sources are not being replenished at the rate they're being depleted, and so it's being mined and being reduced. And so we see this overall trend, and this is, it's again sort of like, it's unequivocal that it's been happening around the world. So the question is what one can do about this. Obviously, issues improving water use and utilization is a key issue. And how we do this effectively so that we get the most per unit of water. I guess the biggest metric that everybody looks at is how many cubic meters, I guess we do it worldwide in cubic meters, and I'm not going to convert here, but how many cubic meters of water per capita are used? And in the United States, that figure, circa 2000, was 1,911 cubic meters per capita per person were withdrawn from the water systems of the United States. Contrast that in the year 2000 with Israel, that was 105. So although that's the number one indicator that people use, it's not necessarily a very good indicator when it's related to economic output, availability of food, etc. And so other ones become very, very important and when we deal with this. So I gave the example of the Israel being 105, and they've moved to 106, and the minister, their head of their water authority said if they get to 107, they will have a water emergency, and they will have to then start ordering the cutting of buds and fruits and vegetables prior to them being able to consume water. So it's a very intimately connected issue. The good news, I guess you could think about the United States is that, well, we have lots of room to move over other areas if we were to use our water more effectively. But the other trend, as John was saying, is this issue of climate change, and that we're seeing a reduction in snowpack storage. Certainly seeing this in the West, and the California news, it's fresh in everybody's mind about the reduction in snowpack storage, the implications this has on storage such as Lake Mead, where Pat Mulroy of the Southern Nevada Water Authority says there's a 10% chance that within the next 10 to 20% chance in the next 10 years that the water levels will drop below the intakes at Lake Mead, and 30 million Californians, Nevadans, and Arizonans may be cut off from water within days. So what are we going to do about this? And they said they've already spent $10 billion to buy up all the agricultural water rights they can possibly do to be able to supply water in southern Nevada for that system. So the point is that we're seeing these confluences, increasing population, increased stress, increased water for energy use, increased water across the spectrum, and decreases in available water supplies. And so we're going to see a perfect storm crossing. So the question is what do we do? What are the metrics? Another issue that's been happening, and this is one that's not quite as well understood, is the issue of salting. The fact that this amount of salting of waters has been, particularly of fresh waters, has been increasing for a number of different reasons, of which there's not really good data. And that's one of the things that we just keep calling out for is better data. But one of them is that these aquifers, as we're pumping them out, and it's measurable. I mean, actually, as population growth grows up, you pump out the aquifers, you then discharge it to the surface, and it does move into the surface waters. As the depth becomes deeper, the water becomes more saline, salt water sinks. And we're seeing an increase in salinity just from our groundwaters as it comes in. But then the treatment of water itself is a major source of salts that are getting deposited. So we see this both for wastewater and for drinking water treatment. we use the big four in terms of chemicals, but they all lead to salting. So this issue of salting is really starting to impact places in terms of agricultural production. Came back from both India and Iraq, where they talked about the issues of higher salinity, and it's actually starting to depress the production. And so they're looking at using more water in order to wash the lands, et cetera. So they're saying, where can we get this fresh water with lower salt? So that's certainly another metric that we need to start considering is what is the salt loading? We know that in the past, whole societies and populations have collapsed due to salting of lands because of agriculture, due to agricultural impact. Another issue is the quality of water.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. The other issue is the quality of water. And I think we have to hit this because it's not talked about enough. And that is that the number of diarrheal diseases, et cetera, the effect on malnutrition because of the misutilization of calories is a growing problem. And although we see many places that we see obesity, the stunting of growth is also increasing at the same time. That's one of these metrics that we really need to start thinking about when we talk about this, because if we do, we can have a major impact if we improve the quality and reduce the number of illnesses at the same time. We can have a major impact on food utilization, which is, again, not something that WHO certainly understands, but it's not part of our vernacular in our discussions. And so I guess the take-home message is we need to find new ways to recover nutrients out of water, recover water, reuse water much more effectively like they do in Israel and are starting to do in Australia and various places, so that we can really change this balance. Because unless we do something and we see a major population collapse, these converging trends are real, they are happening, and we need to address them and start dealing with it now.